And hello, everyone, and welcome to a new Sandstorm meetup. And this time we are with Mr. Metaverse Josh. Hello, Mr. Be careful you muted.
Hey,
Yes. Hey, man, how's it going?
hey, pretty good. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm really looking forward to this session. So, for anyone who doesn't know, today we'll do a big educational session on spatial. We'll go over especially avatars and learn how to build avatars in spatial, customize them, and put them eventually on the marketplace. But maybe we'll leave it out for this session. But first, to you, Metaverse Josh, who are you?
Hey, I'm Josh, and so I like to use my real name because I don't know, the Metaverse Josh persona is kind of like it's a Twitter thing, I guess, that kind of started, but I really just try to keep it aligned with myself, so I don't have a character. It's more like just me and what I like to do. And so me, I guess I'm a video gamer. I guess deep down, I have a real passion for VR games. That's kind of where I stand these days. I'm not like exclusively VR. Of course, I still enjoy a lot of 2D games that I always have. But VR is something new and exciting. I think that just when I first sort of got into it, it was almost like being. It really is. It's like being inside of a video game, and that led to that really was the birth of my interest in sort of amateur game development and things like that. Because once I learned that I could create anything I wanted, and then in VR I could actually experience that myself, first person. That's really when my eyes started opening up to what the metaverse could be. And then so since then, my little Twitter circle started calling me Metaverse Josh, and that's what I did. I made spaces and characters and things. And originally, that was in a platform called AltSpace VR, which was I think Microsoft purchased that, and I was there for a little while. And I loved making stuff there because it was completely VR, kind of like VR chat, but in a way it was a little bit more intuitive, I think, for people because you could manipulate things with your hands a lot better. It was a more VR centric, I think, platform. But anyhow, as we all know, AltSpace kind of sunset a long time ago
Yeah,
now,
I never even heard of it. I never even heard of it. That's crazy.
Yeah, it stinks because to me it was my favorite platform, and for whatever reason, Microsoft decided that it wasn't going to be worth it to continue to to produce that platform, so they shut it down, and so that left a lot of people like myself looking for a new place to call their metaverse home, and so I landed on Spatial. The reason for that was because during this time the platform, even though AltSpace was shutting down, the platform was just taking off. It seems like Spatial was coming out with new features left and right. They were developing, the Unity
Yeah.
Toolkit, which is when I jumped on. At the time before that, when I first looked at it, they didn't have the ability for you to create spaces in Unity. It was all right there on their platform. So when they opened it up to Unity developers, I decided to give it another shot. And since then, they've released a lot of new features just back to back. And it's been, for me, I don't know, it's been hard for me to even keep up with all this stuff. So even as, for me, I'm kind of an IT guy. I still work a full-time job in IT. I got 4 kids of my own. So yes, it's a lot to try to fit a lot of that in, YouTube channel or creating spaces and all that.
Yeah.
And so now my passion has sort of been focused on teaching people how to build the metaverse so that I can, maybe this sounds self-serving, but I was like, so I can enjoy it without having to build it myself anymore because I don't have time for it. And so what I've found is my calling is to teach people who aren't game developers, who aren't, gamers themselves really that have the background to know these kind of things. Here's how you can open up Unity, which is free, and make anything that you can come up with your imagination and allow people to experience that. So that's what my passion is these days.
100%. I think there's so much power in those free tools, like whether Unity
Mm-hmm.
or Unreal Engine, right? I think those
Mm-hmm.
those tools are just so great and accessible. And I would really love for more people to actually know that you can just jump in and try something out and do something, right? And that's where platforms like Spatial are awesome, because you can not only test it in Unity, but then also deploy, get access to a community of people, and get access to, you know, a whole new audience that you can try your games with. So that's super exciting. Actually, I'll just bring up Tyrone really quickly. I know you wanted to be in the back seat here, but hey, my friend, how's it going? I hope you have a good day. If you want to unmute yourself and say a few words.
Hey, sorry about that. I actually had to pull the phone out of my back pocket without hitting the button and shutting it off. How's everyone?
Hey, what's
How's
going on,
everyone
Tyrone?
doing? It's a
Doing great.
holiday here, and had plans to be somewhere at this time, but I love the fact that you guys are going in depth into this, and it's from the level of Josh's experience represents what a lot of folks are getting out of Spatial right now. You jump in, and like you said, there's so many updates and things that if you get in now, there's so much you can learn. And that's why it's
Yeah.
important, someone who came from one platform into another and essentially had, 85% of the experience needed to be productive, now has a situation where it's like, all right, here comes these new features and I'm learning them and I get it. But I know there's lots of people who don't. And now he has this chance to kind of be
Yeah.
there for people when they're just starting out.
And I really love what you said, Tyrone and Josh, there, just about the evolution of a platform. I think when you're a designer, you like to be part of this evolution, right? And you like to be part of every single step. And when you see that the platform you're building on is taking the right direction, taking the right approaches, it validates you as well in the fact that you're spending time on that platform, that you're spending time to develop your skills and to develop this kind of community of people around you. And I think that's great. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this session. I want to learn new stuff.
Well, you kind of got to get past the butterflies in the stomach, right? Or the apprehension, thinking that it might be too advanced, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that. You just have to get used to doing things in a certain order. And once you learn that, then you can just go off and create.
So before we go into the session, maybe because we have both of you here, maybe we can just do a quick session. I know recently we had the big announcement from Apple with, the big new headset, Vision Pro. So you talked about spatial computing before, Josh, and that VR is super exciting to you. Where do you see this industry is headed in a few years from now, and why is it a good moment now to get involved and to learn more about this entire space?
Sure, that's a good question. So one thing with the Apple Vision Pro, let's just be real here. Whatever your opinion is of the Vision Pro or its price or its hardware or its features, whatever that is, Apple is making this thing, and it has made everybody talk about spatial computing, augmented reality, metaverse, whatever you want to call it. It fits the bill for all of that. And so regardless of what Apple's main focus is, or Facebook's / Meta's focus is, as the communities of people, not just in projects in Web3, that's easy low hanging fruit for us to reach. I'm talking about actual people wanting to use these as tools for work or productivity or something like that. With Apple jumping into that ring here, you've got a lot more players now thinking about this kind of technology that weren't before. If you use, and I'm a proponent of things like Web3 and using terms like metaverse and NFTs and all that. Not everybody is. And so a lot of people that weren't really interested in the Web3 or NFT or metaverse type experience, now that you're taking spatial computing from a different angle and showing these people like, hey, you can sort of use the same technology, and maybe not necessarily blockchain or Web3 really, but this spatial computing part of that technology that the metaverse is sort of heading towards. And we can do a lot with that, and not just with gaming either. Even though I'm a huge proponent of gaming and VR and augmented reality, obviously, I like to gamify everything. That's me. But some people that aren't gamers aren't really drawn towards that. So if you get them looking at the technology from a different angle, like with spatial computing, like with the sleek design that Apple has to offer, then you have this whole new family or community of people worldwide that are now looking at this technology. Think about this. Let's imagine for a second, and maybe so I'm not that well versed in the history of smartphones, but let's look at it this way. I had a Motorola Razr at the time. I got back from a tour overseas. I had some money, and I heard about this thing that Apple made called the iPhone. And I was like, "What is this?" It's a computer phone, basically. And everybody thought I was crazy for buying this thing. I had extra money, whatever. It's $500 phone. I just bought it. And I'm like, guys, look, I can check my email, I can watch YouTube and do all these things. And they're like, yeah, I can do that with this phone. And yeah, even though, it was kind of 2G and still in its infancy, doing all these things
it felt good using it
in one device with a lot more memory. See, that was one of the things I didn't understand. Like, yes, I was texting just like you. The technology was the same. The difference was, I have a device that has memory much more so than yours, and I can keep up with these conversations individually with all of my contacts, and I don't have to delete anything. That was something new. Like, that was a brand new, thing with smartphones. And then that started fleshing out to where instead of it being crazy to being early adopter of that technology, you were crazy for not having one of these phones. We've been, this is 20 years ago. I feel like we've gotten here.
And
now
I'm
it's like
I'm of the younger generation, so I can attest. In my when I was still at school, everybody wanted to have an iPhone. It was kind of the trendy thing. You were not part of the cool kids if you didn't have these devices.
Right.
So it's true. It became a real movement in society.
Now imagine this though. Imagine that they had some smartphones before Apple came out with one. And they weren't really taken off. People were like, look, there's no way I'm going to spend $300 on a phone. Because $500 was a lot. People were spending $100 or less or nothing, even with a contract on phones before this. So, like, it was unheard of to spend $500 on a phone. And so even if there was a smartphone before that was even cheaper, and people were like, we just don't need this. And maybe it's because there was some stigma or some other reason to have that phone that they just weren't into. That's what I'm seeing now. The VR and metaverse and all that space is being looked at in a different light, because instead of having a compelling reason or a big company or something that people liked to follow, and I don't want to say cult-like fashion, but Apple has got its own, like, I have to have all of this.
Yes.
So it's like, you didn't have that before, and now you do. And so the thing is, it's going to be first adopters of Apple, I think, that jump on, a $3,500 headset. Not just VR enthusiasts. It's going to be Apple people that jump on that. But
what do you think, Tyrone? What do you think, Tyrone? You wanted to say you wanted to say something.
Oh, no. Actually, Josh is right. I mean, when you look at what it costs to get into it, listen, Apple made the switch from computers to being a gadget company, and they did an excellent job of it. When the iPod came out, it changed the way people thought about something. The reality is when a $1 trillion company gets involved, they did their due diligence, and you can expect them to change the mindset. And the same thing with the iPhone, like you just said, Josh, with all that utility that was wrapped into it. Sooner or later, people see that others have a clear advantage in life because they have something. And that's when people adopt it, regardless of the price. That's when they'll say, I'll set aside some money to buy that. That's when companies realize that they can start leasing these things or and doing all these different ways for you to get into the technology, because it is that monumental of a moment. Right. And I think that's kind of what's going to happen here, is that we're going to see enough of the experience that people are happening, the productivity levels and how they increase and how people communicate with each other and spend time in the metaverse. That's what's going to make all the difference. And we were waiting at Spatial for 6 years, 7 years. Everyone at the team has been waiting for what Apple would do and seen every iteration of every headset before. Yeah. So here it is.
But I had this exact feeling when I saw this headset, because I have a Meta Quest 2, and the worst feeling I always had with this headset is I never wanted to take it off. Like, the worst thing about the Meta Quest 2 is there's a lot of situations where you have to take it off because you need to check some stuff, or you can't really move around efficiently, etc. And it feels so bad when you're doing something to just have to take it off. It also is painful physically to do that, if you wear it. And I think
try being a dev.
It's very cool. Yeah, it's crazy. And so especially if you need to work on multiple devices and you switch back and forth and stuff like this. So I'm thinking, this ability with the toggle and stuff, it's like they found a lot of super cool solutions to big issues that I found with this headset. But yeah, I'm very excited to see what comes from it, and I really think the industry is also being made not only by the software providers, but also by the devs who are working on the products on top of it. So I believe it's a really exciting time to be involved, because you will be able to see how this entire industry is being shaped in real time, and see the concrete use cases that, like Tyrone said, will make it from just some other computing software to a real gadget that you want to use on a daily basis.
There's a distinct advantage that Apple has in this space, which is that, like Tyrone said, they're already a gadget company. They've been making gadgets that people have been adopting for years, since I was in high school, even a long time ago, with the iPod, obviously. So think about it this way. Apple, even if it's expensive now or whatever, as people do want to purchase this stuff, excuse me, what we're going to see is that you're going to have this unique ecosystem of devices where your phone, your computer, now your spatial, computing device, all sort of work together, with your iCloud account or whatever, where you're reading the same messages, you're getting the same notifications, or all of that sort of works. And maybe you can download your profile on another headset that's your friends or something just by logging in. I think that's going to give them a distinct advantage over, say, the Quest Pro, even, which does have a lot of the features. If you do compare them, yes, obviously that Vision Pro is going to be a more premium headset. But if you're looking at just affordability for the general user, the Quest Pro, although expensive, does have color pass-through. Does have a lot of these features. The controllers are really good. There's a lot of different things about it that make it great for gaming. But if you look at the differences, you don't have that sort of integration, with a Rift or with the Meta headsets that you would for right. You just don't. So I'm excited about that. If you ask me about Apple, that's the one thing that I feel like they're going to introduce that we've never had, which is that presence with your headset on. Just like you said, I can put it on, but now I don't have to take it off, because all of these devices that I was using when I didn't have it, I really don't need them now.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty.
Yep, exactly. 100%. Man, I really loved this conversation, and thank you, Tyrone, as well, for jumping in. I think he just clicked on the button or something on the button to get out, unfortunately. But maybe we'll see him later. Oh, he's back already. Look at him. I can bring him back. Look at you, Tyrone. You're back. But yeah, basically, I want to get into the building.
I'm out in the woods out here. I'm out.
Touching grass.
Be like
touching
this.
Grass.
I'm touching grass.
Okay, so Josh, what's on the menu for today? What will we go over from a technical perspective?
Sure. So a couple of things, and I'll go ahead and say it just in case we get it fixed last minute. But one of the things I really wanted to show today, two things. One, first, my go-to, which is to show people how to build an avatar. It's something that I really like. It was one of the first things that came out on the spatial sort of feature list that I was super excited about, because, it's really easy to do, and I like being just whoever. That was one of honestly, the first things about the metaverse I loved is I was like, look, I can be whatever I want to be. Like if you play Warcraft or one of these other games, there's some customized, options there, but you can't just be anything. You got to be one of their races or something that, so in the metaverse, that's the cool thing. Like Ready Player One, everybody was, whether it was, licensed IP or something they made up, everybody was whatever they wanted to be. Yeah. And so that was, just like being in a space, any space you want to be, I wanted to be whoever I wanted to be. Eventually that turned into me being, I just made my own avatar and now I use that. But
and I'll look at you.
Yeah. So I got a little look that I go by. So I use that mainly, and then what I still like to do, and this is one of my favorite things, I'll just jump in spaces, random spaces in spatial. And if people don't know who I am, I just cycle through all my avatars and like, well, what is all that? And it helps people spark a conversation with me where I can plug my YouTube channel. I say, look, I can show you how to do this. And so I get a lot of word of mouth that way. Mm-hmm. And so, today I want to show everybody how exactly you do that. What I'm not going to do is I'm not getting into Blender. Not everybody is a 3D artist or whatever. I'm not. Okay. So I can do a few basic things, but what I'm going to show you how to do is, if you have a 3D model, if you are somebody that uses Blender, or if you can get one, whether you're paying for it or, there's a tons of free websites you can use. And I'm going to show you one today. Called Mixamo, and there's characters on there you can download, and then turn that into you can even customize it and then turn it into an avatar for Spatial.io. And the second thing I wanted to show, I can show a little bit about it, is the studio. It's a brand new feature. A lot of it is still in beta, with Spatial. But what that's going to lead to is the ability for people to award different items, whether it be an avatar or an item that they can put in their space or something like that, whether it be through like a prize. I've done something in your space, and now I'm going to award you with a token that you can use to buy something on my shop or whatever. Or it can be through a badge system, like an achievement. There's a lot of different ways, and we're going to go over all that. Again, some of the stuff in the studio is not working. One of the things I wanted to show today, at least for my account, it's not working. Maybe I think it is working for some people. I know it is, in fact. But again, since it's such a new feature, not everybody has access to it. So I think there's a few kinks we need to get worked out with mine.
Yeah,
but essentially what it's going to be is the ability to award someone an avatar, so that it goes in their backpack. And a backpack is a new thing in Spatial, where you can give people items that they can carry around in your space. And then I think it's either being worked on, it might even be working now, where you can take some of these items into someone else's space even. And so it sort of builds this, again, what I was referring to as a Ready Player One experience, where nothing makes sense. It's just everything that everybody wants everywhere. And I love it.
That's correct, actually. And the way it can be done is you can choose where things can be used. So if you create your own gamified world and you want people to only use the characters and stuff they earn in your spaces, you can set that. Whereas you can then also make things available that you can use anywhere in Spatial. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, so that's the other thing that I wanted to mention too. I think it seems like in everything in Spatial, at least everything that I can think of, is customizable. And so, if you want this, or if you want that, or if you want it to be private, if you want your avatars to be global, or just for your ecosystem, all this is customizable. So, I can get into some of this today. That's something we can show. So first, I'd like to start, though, with Unity. So I'm going to go ahead and get it pulled up here.
Sure.
I'm actually going to start with Unity Hub. So this is Unity Hub. I got a ton of projects in here already, but this is a free program. One of the things I also wanted to point out was if you go to spatial.io, there's actually /toolkit is where we're going to go. There's actually a page here that's chock full of all of the information that you need about the toolkit itself, how to download it, how to do all this stuff. So what we're going to be discussing here today, as well as tons of other information, is all here. And so if you go, I think it took me to docs.spatial.io. If you go there, all of this information we'll cover and more is going to be here. So first, everyone go ahead and download that, or bookmark that, that website. And so the first thing I'm going to do,
if you ever checked out the docs of Spatial, they're really, really good and well made and complete. So if you just want to explore anything in Spatial, go to the documentation. You'll find a lot of answers to your questions. I'm sure 100%. Sorry.
Absolutely. No, that's a good point. So Jake does a lot of the documentation on here, from what I understand. He puts a lot of time into this because from going over my own tutorials and stuff and having to use this documentation to do it, I found that he's been very thorough with this. So if you ever do have a question, probably your first place, just like you said, to look is going to be here. Second, though, and I'm sure Tyrone can shoot a link to everybody in the chat there, but we have a Discord as well, where you can ask, and there's tons of builders there. They're not actual Spatial devs, but just people like you and I that get on there and build all the time, that love to answer questions. Sure. And so I'd also recommend that.
I can prepare that.
Yeah, but so I'm just going to pull up, first of all, you want to go ahead and download Unity Hub. There's links. You can Google that, or you can go on the Spatial doc website there, and you can download this. There's a certain version that you want to get. It's going to be 2021.3.8 F1 is the one I have, but it may be updated. But just check the documentation. Make sure you have whatever for right now is the latest, since that may change. And download and install that version. Once you do that, you'll be able to create a new project. But what we're going to do actually is go to the Spatial Creator Toolkit page, and you're going to want to download. There's a template package. So I'm going to click Getting Started. All the information about installing Unity and Unity Hub is going to be here. And then if you want to click this here, you can get the starter template. I've already imported this, so I don't need to, but you're going to need to go ahead and download that before you can get started. Once you have the template downloaded, you're going to open that template from Unity Hub, and it's going to open a project that you can get started with.
Yeah,
and so I'm already.
That's awesome, especially for people who don't have designer technical skills, because you can just take assets that have been pre-made, like Josh mentioned earlier, put them onto Unity and have it work in a few clicks. So that's awesome. And then you can tweak around, play around with the different options and test out if it works or not.
Right. And what's neat about the Spatial Toolkit is that it comes with a ton of samples. So if you look inside of the, let's see, it's a spatial folder here, or I'm trying to remember which one it was. I thought it was examples. There we go. So inside this examples folder, this actually doesn't have all the stuff that's supposed to be in here because I haven't downloaded the latest one. But one of the examples I'm going to be showing today, this is the Spatial avatar. Everybody who downloads the Creator Toolkit will get this avatar. Of course, if you want it to be on your account, you'll need to upload it. But that's exactly what we're going to be doing today, so that you can kind of get an idea of how to do this. And so if you go into the example folder and then go into the example or the avatars inside of that one, you'll see that there is, let me see, is it in, actually that was the data man, I'm sorry. Is it not in here? Did I move it out? I might have actually moved this one out of here because I uploaded it. So I might be lying to you.
No.
It's definitely the examples folder on everybody else's. I think I moved mine out though. So let me just grab it under my folder. I think I made a subfolder for avatars, and then I'm pretty sure, yeah, I put it in there. So yours should say avatar Spatial, I think.
Yep.
And then it'll have all these same folders in here. So, it already comes with a Spatial prefab, which I'll just open that up here, and we'll take a look at it real quick. So one of the things that we'll want to make sure, if you, and let me cover one definition real quick. So with avatars, you have what's called a universal avatar and what's called an ecosystem avatar. And so the main differences here is that if you're dealing with a ecosystem avatar, there's not a whole lot of limitations except for size and a few things that are kind of global. But with a universal avatar that works everywhere, there are some limitations. And so one of the things that I can quickly go over here with this example is that you want to have no more than 4 submeshes or 4 materials here. And so if you're not familiar with what that is in Unity, I'm just going to click the backpack here. And so you can see that I've got the backpack selected. And then on the right side over here in the inspector window, I can see the material for this backpack. It's got a texture and all that. So in this example, they have 4 of these submeshes. And so that's the maximum that you can have for a universal avatar. I want to go ahead and start by saying that because a lot of people will get far into my tutorial and they won't realize that, and they'll have all these different submeshes and materials and then get to where they want to upload it and realize that they can't. And so I just want to make sure I point that out before you get started, so that you can start with a good model that has 4 or less submeshes if you intend on your avatar to be universal, which means that you can use it in any space. So the other
why is it only usable in certain spaces compared to all of them if it has more meshes?
Sure. So that's a good question. And so I'm not a completely technical person when it comes to that, but from my understanding, of course, the more submeshes and materials that you have on your character, the more data consumption that's going to have for just your one particular avatar. And so you can imagine that if I was somebody that wanted to do something, whether it's because I didn't know any better or it was because I did want it to be malicious, if I had way too much, if I made a heavy avatar, I could go into someone's space and possibly cause detriment to the experience of different players on different devices. That's another thing about the metaverse and about Spatial in particular. It is multi-platform. So you've got people who are using their phones, you've got people who are using PC and their browser, and you've got people who are using VR and standalone VR like the Quest. And so, as you know, the Quest is not much more powerful than just a mobile phone. So we want to make sure that, if we have assets that are universal, meaning that if I allow anybody with, universal items to come into my space with that, that they're at least somewhat controlled as to, how much resource they can take up by themselves, how much space they can take up by themselves, that kind of thing. And so at least for this one here, it is using the max of 4. And there's already a maximum resolution on the textures that you can use per material anyway. So, no matter what they're really using, it can only, be so much. And so it's just pretty safe for a lot of people with avatars of this level of quality or lower to be in the same space. So with the ecosystem avatar,
it's interesting because since there can be up to 50 people in a space, I can imagine, if you have really, really like heavy avatars, it would just destroy the player experience for the others. So yeah, makes total sense.
So that's sort of why we want to make sure that at least with a global avatar, they're kind of lightweight, right? And so the textures are really small, not a whole lot of materials. But now when we talk about ecosystem avatars, let's say that you have an ecosystem avatar and you want it to just be something temporary that a player is going to change into while they do a certain part of your game. And there's not going to be a lot of people using that. If that's the case, then with an ecosystem avatar, you can do a whole lot more than that. You can have more sub meshes, you can have higher res materials, but just know that that's only usable in yours. And so if you have issues, then it's totally up to you to fix that, right? So that's sort of the idea behind it. And so now that I'm here, though, this is already a working avatar. Actually, this is my Spatial Guide avatar, I think. So it's actually got my name on it there, as you can see. And so I changed the face there. So what I can do, I'm actually going to see if I can find the original one. And that way I can show you how I changed that. And then I can go start from scratch and just do a scratch avatar for you separately. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to change this to, so I think I had this one. Yeah, that was my Spatial Guide one. And so I had a basic Spatial variant. So this is actually the basic Spatial that comes with your Creator Toolkit. So this is how I found it. And then I changed it to look like this. And so all I did was just reskin this. And so without going into a whole lot of avatar in-depth information yet, if you just open up the Spatial avatar in your kit here, I can show you real quick how to just modify this one. And that's how I started, actually. The first avatar that I made was this one here. I just modified it. And so I opened this one up. If you go into textures, you'll see all the textures that are used for this one in particular. And so if I go to mine and then go to textures, you'll see all I did was just, actually, I think this was let me get an inspector here. I'll make sure I show you the right thing. It's the topware. There we go. Okay. So if I open up this texture here, you can see that you can open this up with Photoshop or whatever you want. All I did was just paste on, some different things that I wanted onto the texture and then save it. And then once you save your texture, it'll actually update inside of, Unity, and you can see those changes. And so that's just basic texturing. And I think most people who've ever done, texturing in any kind of game will probably find this familiar. Same thing with the helmet here. This is the original helmet texture that I found. And then all I did was just open it up and edit it with Photoshop. And I put, the texture that I wanted. You can see that I got the changes that I was looking for. So if all you're trying to do is just sort of reskin a model that you have already, it's just as simple as editing these textures here. Now let's just say that you had, an avatar that you wanted to start from scratch on. So I'm actually going to do that today. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder for this avatar. Your project is probably not going to look as busy as mine. So you can create a folder in the root of your assets if you'd like.
There's a lot going on for you.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of avatars. So obviously you can see that I got a lot of folders here. But if you're just getting started, you're just going to have, one or none. So I'm making a new folder here. I'm just going to call this guy Joe. And the reason why I'm calling him Joe, because I actually went to, let's pull this back up. I went to mixamo.com and I decided I wanted to check out some different characters. So if you're not familiar with Mixamo, this is a free website that Adobe offers. They are giving away animations and characters all day long. And so I'm not getting into animations today, but if you're familiar with animations, you can go here and get time for free. But characters.
Cool.
If you go to characters, there are a ton of free characters here. Every one of these characters that you see can be downloaded for free. And then if you do, like I just showed you, and open up the texture files, you can actually reskin these any kind of way you want. So if you want to change the color, if you want to make them look different, it's really easy. And so I went on here and I found a guy named Joe. Trying to find him here so I can show you I'm not lying. Maybe I can search for him here. Let's see.
Mr.
There he
Joe.
is. So I just clicked this guy named Joe, and so it gives it to me in a T-pose here, as you can see, and I downloaded that. And so now that I've downloaded, I'm actually going to just go into downloads folder and move it in here. It just gives you an FBX file, and there he is. And so I'm actually gonna open a. Well, actually, I think I can just go back. It'll take me. Okay, so this is a new scene. This is what your project should look like if you're just opening up. Yeah, it's just nothing. There's nothing here. I got a main camera and a directional light, and that's all that's going to be in your scene. And that's fine because we're actually going to use the scene for this. Since we're just going to make an avatar prefab, you don't really need it. So first thing I'm going to do, I've got my model here. This is the model that I downloaded from Mixamo. And I don't think this one has a skin. So I wonder if I need to go back and download it again with the skin. Maybe that's what I did.
Original pose it. No, I don't think it changes anything, no.
It doesn't even ask for this. No, I don't know why it's not showing this. It didn't download the skin actually. So I'm wondering, did I do something
Maybe
wrong?
on the format? Maybe on the format?
Let's see. I know the FBX normally doesn't come with it doesn't come with a skin file, you gotta, or maybe it does. Let's see, materials.
Yeah, normally you get a material file on top.
I'm gonna extract them is what I'm gonna do. That might be what I need to do. I'm just making a folder here called materials. Sorry, it looks like I need to make it first. There, and it just gave me some materials with no skin on them. So I guess this model in particular doesn't come with textures. I probably should have checked that first. Well, I don't know. Let's see. I hit extract textures. Let's see. Oh, there they are. Okay, so never mind. All right. So everybody that's playing along at home, what I did was I selected the FBX file here. I went to the materials tab in the inspector and I clicked extract materials, or I'm sorry, extract textures. And so it gave me the materials, but it didn't give me any textures, but that's how I got them. So now that I got the textures here, I'm going to do one more thing, and this is important. We're going to go to the rig tab in inspector as well. Under animation type, we're going to click generic, and we're going to change this to humanoid, and then we're going to hit apply. If you don't do this, it's not going to work. And you're going to have to delete everything and re-import it if you do that. So let's just start right and go ahead and change it to humanoid. And then take your FBX avatar, and I'm just going to drag it into the Finder window here and then double click it. And that's just going to take me right to where it dropped it. And if you look in the inspector, it should give the position of 0 and the rotation of 0. That's what we're looking for. And so in this particular case, I got an avatar here. We're calling him Joe. And actually, Joe has like all sorts of sub meshes here, it looks like, but there's only one material. So that looks like it's going to be fine. So what's important, I found is that it doesn't matter, I guess, if you've got all these different pieces, as long as it all has the same material, it doesn't matter. And so I'm just going to take this this material, or this texture here. I'm going to add it to the material by going to base map. So I've got it says body. And I actually didn't name this one, so I think that's not it actually. So I'm going to need to name it so I can find it. For you, if you've got a new project, you're probably not going to have a hard time finding your textures. But for me, if I don't name them, then I'm not going to find them right. So I'm just going to name this Joe1.
For anyone who's listening, it's also just in general very important that you get naming conventions right, because it will make your life so much easier, especially if you start building a lot or if you're not on a lot of projects. You really need to learn this. And it's one of the biggest expectations from a client too, by the way. If you're working for some professional clients,
I'm surprised
on one of the assets.
What's that?
I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised at the fact that you typed in Joe 1, and with how many you have, that it's like, nope, that already exists.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I decided real quick to not
You've
do
already
that.
got a Joe 1.
Actually, hold on. So, for a tutorial, I'm not going to get too much into this because I'm not going to do much with this one here. So you can call this whatever you want. I mean, I called it, Joe color because that's the base color of this texture here. If you go back to the textures, I'm going to look at this one. This is the normal texture. So if I go back to my material that I started with for the body, I can click this one, type in Joe, and do the Joe normal. And obviously I don't want that much. I'm going to make him less shiny there. So there we go. All right. And so you continue to, obviously to flesh this out by applying these, textures and materials. And I'm going to do that while we're talking. In fact, if you guys want to carry on with the conversation while I do that, I'm not as interesting while I'm working on this as I'd like to be.
The texturing work.
Yeah, right. So if you're watching along at home, what I'm doing here is I'm naming these textures and I'm applying them to the materials that are already being used for this model. And so you can watch as I'm doing this. So this is the hair.
Yeah, I can take a quick moment to talk about the actual game jam that's going on at the moment. So yeah, I mean, Spatial and Sandstorm are starting to work together more and more, as you can see today, with these educational sessions and with the contest that we run, the game jam for a racing game. So the challenge there is you need to create an arcade racing game. You had 3 weeks in total. I think now you have a bit less than a week. You have 5 days until Saturday to enter the contest. And it's a way to just test the new Creator Toolkit of Spatial, to test to create a new little game with cars, drivable vehicles. It looks great in a multiplayer setting, so I'm really excited to
I've
see
been
what
seeing
people
stuff. I'm starting to see things. People are sharing stuff, and there are some funny ideas,
Yeah.
that are actually being put into play. Like, I think it's funny that when you say let's have a racing game jam, right? You think you're going to get 20 different versions of, Gran Turismo, or something like that. No. There's all kinds of stuff coming through. It feels like everyone's putting their own spin on just getting in something with wheels and driving fast against other people.
Exactly. No, but I think it's a really, really nice kind of thing to do, like a racing game. And especially, I think in our last stream we went over it and we played you, Jake, and myself, who went into Spatial in like one space where you could drive vehicles. It was so fun to see in real time things move, etc. It's so cool to see that in a few clips it just works. So I'm stoked about the contest stream that you chose and to see what they come up with.
All right, guys. So I've got this texture pulled up in Photoshop here, and I was just going to show. I'm not really going to do much with it, but I was going to show really this whole texture. It looks like the whole body is right here within this, other than the hair and all, right here within this texture. So if I wanted to, change the color of his shoes or his jacket or something like that, and this is where I would go and do that. And Photoshop has a lot of tools for being able to easily change colors on things. So that's just one of the things I've done on models like this that you can get pretty generic, from Mixama or whatever, and then you can sort of make it yours. In fact, looking at this one, I'm like, man, this looks better than the one I was using. I might have to put a Quest Pro on him. Look at this.
So in that textures there, that's the moment where you could have fixed it in Photoshop and gave like a handlebar mustache on his face, right?
Exactly.
Just
if I wanted to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So this is great. So now I've got my Joe all set up. He's ready to get imported. So next thing I'm going to do, this is important too. Let me get my Joe folder open back up too. So I'm actually going to come over here on this. I'm going to add a component. It's the spatial avatar component. I want to add that. We don't need this animator, so I'm going to remove that. Or actually, what is it? Am I wrong on that? I guess I need that for a spatial avatar now, so I'm going to leave it. Never mind. So, all right. So now, one thing I want to, so in my YouTube video, this is a great thing because in my YouTube video, when I first did my avatar tutorial, this is back when avatars first came out. So we didn't have any of this extra stuff. So this is a great thing to go over this. So one of the things that we can do now with the avatar component you have a default animation set type. And so unset, I think it's just going to be left to default. But here we can set when I'm sitting down with my avatar. This essentially means, are my legs going to be crossed like a feminine character, or am I just going to be kind of sitting normal with my legs open like a masculine character? And so since my character is masculine, I'm going to go ahead and click masculine there. And then we can override any of the default spatial animations with these here. So if I want myself to, instead of standing like the way they normally do, if I wanted to stand like this or walk like this or run like this is where you can add all those custom animations that you want. And if you remember back when I was talking about Mixamo, there's tons of animations there you can get for free. Running, jumping, all of that. And you can download them, add them as custom animations in Spatial, and then assign it to your character here. So your character can be as customizable as you want.
So you can determine custom sets, basically, correct?
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, for instance, I made one of Spider-Man, and so I wanted my Spider-Man to sort of crawl on the ground instead of walking, and so I just downloaded a crawl animation. I added it here to the walk, and then so when Spider-Man walks in Spatial, for me, he actually crawls. But when I want to run, I actually just have the regular running animation, so he just gets up and runs. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different things that you can do there, depending on what you want it to look like. So if you want to, look a certain way when you just jump or when you run and jump, there are all different things here. But so I'm not going to go over that today. But
it doesn't change the hitbox, correct? It just changes the visual.
Correct. So in other words, like I'm still going to control my character and move it around. Yeah. It's not going to make him go flying off the screen or anything like that. These are just basic looping animations. Like, so when you like run or walk, things like that, these need to be able to loop seamlessly so that they can be used in here. If that makes sense. Not going to go over all that today. Just wanted to give that little tidbit. I do have a video that goes more in depth on animations on YouTube if you want to see it. But for now, I'm going to keep this basic. I do have my animation pretty much, my avatar pretty much ready to go. So what I'm going to do last, I'm actually just going to drag. Let me rename this. Actually, I'm going to call Joe Avatar. I'm going to call it that. And I'm going to drag this into my project window here. And that's going to create, once I click prefab variant, it's going to create the prefab for me so I can assign this to a package. So now I'm going to go to the publishing tab over here. This is assuming that I'm already logged into Spatial. So let me go back one. If you're just now opening up your project, you're probably not going to be logged into Spatial yet. So what you need to do is go to account. I'm already logged in, but you're going to need to go to get account token. That's going to open up Spatial. It's going to pull up your account here, and you just hit copy to clipboard, then go here and hit paste login. And then once you do that, you're going to be logged in and you'll be ready to go.
And that's how you can link your Unity to your Spatial accounts.
That's correct. And so now everything I do in Unity, when I upload it and I get a package, it's actually going to show up in Spatial somewhere, and I'll show that here in a second. And so right now I haven't created a package for Joe yet. And so the first thing we're going to need to do, we're going to go to the create new. I'm going to create a drop or click this drop down and hit avatar because that's what I want to make. And I'm going to hit create. That's going to make a new avatar package. Doesn't have a SKU yet. I'm just going to name it Joe. And then I need to assign this prefab to that slot. And so I'm just going to drag it from here into the prefab slot, and you'll see that I've got it here now. Now I can label a few things here: usage context, universal, or world. This is what I was talking about earlier. So it's kind of good, again, that I explained that before you got here and realized that you couldn't upload it where you wanted to. So if you've got only 4 or less materials here, you should be able to click universal. If not, you can click world, and this will at least get it into any of the worlds that you're creating, and so it's easily usable there. I'm going to try for universal. We'll see. Category, I'm just going to click human. Now we got to click a thumbnail here, or put one here, and so I don't have one. I'm just going to actually, let's see. You know what? I'm going to do like you did earlier. I'm going to use my snipping tool. I'm just going to take a picture of this guy here and just save it. And let's go back to Joe.
Yeah, it's awesome. And basically, when you publish it, that's where the system verifies the avatar itself. It verifies if it fits the conditions, and then it publishes it on your account as like an asset that you can use. It's awesome.
So I'm going to grab that, and I'm just going to use, I think I actually used this in one of my videos before too. It's not perfect, but you can use this remove.bg website to just get a a transparent background of your character there. And I'm just going to drop that into my project there. I don't know if that worked or not. Let's see.
Kind of messed up the feed, but it's okay.
There we go. Yeah, because it's not, honestly, you know, when you upload this is just what the thumbnail looks like when you go to select it. So
yeah, it doesn't
if you're not selling it, or if you just want to use it for yourself or for a universal avatar that no one's going to see the thumbnail anyway, this is perfectly fine. But if you're wanting to sell it, and I'll show that in a little bit, just what it looks like inside the shop. I can show you why you want to have a good looking thumbnail, though, if that's something you're going to want to do. So let me just open this back up. Now that I got that transparent one, I can actually drag that in here, and let's see if it lets me publish this. Did I have to? Oh, I do have to save this scene. So let me. Just a quick thing: if you haven't saved your scene, even if it's just a test scene, you can't publish anything. So it does make you save it. Oh, look, I got errors. So let's see what the errors are. Yeah, 9 submeshes. So I guess it didn't matter whether I had the materials or not. It's not liking that I had this many. So it looks like I'm going to have to edit this prefab enough to get this to upload. I can only have 4. So it looks like Joe's going to lose his belt. Let's see. Just for now. Because I'm not going to...
He's getting
make everybody
naked. It's the moment.
Yeah, that's a whole Blender class to put all this together, which we can do, by the way, if you guys want to do that one day. That's actually pretty simple too. It's just time consuming is all. But that includes just for the people that actually understand Blender out there. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but if you're familiar with the what's that plugin called? The Principal Baker plugin. Essentially, what you want to do is get all of your model down to these 4 sub meshes and use the Principal Baker to bake your textures down to 4 is essentially what you need to do. That's another a tutorial for another time. But Joe, for now, is just going to lose a few pieces here, and so we can get this going. He doesn't need eyelashes.
Going from going out to dinner. He's going from going out to dinner to now he's going to get in the pool.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 is all we can have. So he might lose his shoes, and he can't lose his pants. He needs to keep that. He's going to lose his hair. All right, there we go. So Joe's bald and doesn't have a tie. That's fine.
Hold your avatar. That's the solution.
All right, so
but you make this funny enough, Josh, and people are gonna want to buy Joe from you. We're gonna have to put him out somewhere, and people can go on a treasure hunt to find him.
It's massive,
oh my goodness! So I'm gonna delete that, Joe. Where you at, Joe? I'm gonna delete that one. I'm gonna
He was too handsome for the metaverse. He had to be trimmed down.
He was. I had to take him down. All right, so I remade my avatar there, the prefab I made, and now I just need to go back into the publisher and tell it to use this one. Let's see. It's probably still not going to like the size of these textures, but that's easy enough. So texture size is too large. This is one that a lot of people will probably run into, and it already looks like this guy has too many triangles, which means I'm probably not going to be able to upload this one after all, because that's a whole nother Blender class about decimation as well. That's okay though. I mean, I can take it past here, but in order to fix this avatar textures is too large, I actually found that it's fairly easy. I think, let me make sure it still works before I lie to everybody. So you can actually select the textures in the Finder here and just select 1024 and hit apply. And without having to go into Photoshop or whatever, this has actually worked for me a few times. So let's see if it likes it. Yeah. Ooh, so if this was actually enough, if this was a low enough in a triangle count, which actually I might be able to just change this to ecosystem Tyrone. Wouldn't that work? I could probably upload that.
Yeah,
ecosystem. That would probably work.
Yeah.
So it's going to work for that. Let's just do that. So let's just say it this way. This avatar is slightly, and I mean ever so slightly, a small decimation probably would have took care of this in Blender. It was ever so slightly too many triangles to upload as a universal avatar. So what I'm doing is I'm uploading it as a ecosystem avatar, which means I'll be able to use it in my worlds, but I won't be able to take it into someone else's world right now. I can easily fix this by bringing that model, that FBX that I downloaded from Mixamo. I can bring that into Blender and decimate it.
Yeah.
Again, that's a whole nother class, but if you want to take that on yourself, it's fairly easy to do. But I just actually uploaded this avatar. So now that I go back into Spatial, I'm just going to open up spatial.io. And look, it's going to take a few minutes to get this avatar on here, so it might not be readily available, but we can look at some other stuff before then. So I'm going to click my account up here, and I'm just going to go to the studio. And this is going to show some of the worlds that I've made already. So I'm going to click my avatar world. And I've actually already published a couple of the avatars that I've made onto this space. But for this tutorial, I'm actually going to start another one. So I'm going to click new item. And because this is a Unity package that I just uploaded, I'm going to click that. And so you'll see these are all the characters that I've already made. A lot of these are ones that I downloaded from Tyrone, help me out here. What's the free model website everybody goes to?
Sketchfab.
Sketchfab, there you go. So tons of these models, I just got them from Sketchfab. If you look at Baby Yoda and Link and all this stuff, all from Sketchfab. The stuff is free and you can download it. And as long as you rig it, which is something else I can show real quick if we've got time. Because I downloaded Joe from Mixamo, I didn't have to rig it. It was already rigged. But let's say I downloaded one of those models from Sketchfab. Once you have your FBX, instead of picking one of these characters, you actually upload your character and just select the FBX here, and it'll upload it just like one of these characters, and then you can download that model once it's rigged. You do have to have a humanoid rig model, just like I showed in the beginning when we select humanoid. If you didn't rig your model, you wouldn't be able to select humanoid there. So if you're running into that problem where humanoid doesn't work, you'll need to rig it here first. But this website's absolutely free. You can rig your model here or any ones you have as long as they're humanoid all day long. And so look, I've got all this uploaded, but I don't think that it's going to show the one I just uploaded since I just put that in there. It's not published yet. But I think we can just grab one of my other ones that I have here. So I think I already put the left shark and the spatial guide in there. So I'm just going to go back to, let's see, to that world and then to the spatial guide. So it's published. But when you hit create, none of this, it's not going to say publish, but everything else will be the same. So since I already uploaded the thumbnail for this one, it's already here. So remember when I was talking about, hey, it's not going to matter what it looks like. I'm actually just going to pull up, let's just pull up one of my worlds here and let that load in the background while I'm talking about that. Actually, let me go to my home so it doesn't have any sound. Sorry, guys. I should have been better prepared with this. All right.
No worries. All good.
So I'm going to pull up my my avatar changer in the home here, and this will sort of give you an idea what I was talking about with the thumbnails. If this were a ecosystem only avatar, or if it was one that I only uploaded to my account but no one else has it, I'm not going to sell it or anything like that. Essentially what I'm going to do here is just show what that would look like and why it's not totally important to get that right. But if you're looking in here, if you look inside of this one, this is actually a pretty decent looking thumbnail. You want it to look good like this one because in my shop, it'll look like that as well.
Yeah.
So if I go to the avatar changer, this is what you see.
But
so it's a very
correct, or do you need to republish with a new thumbnail?
No, this one will be fine. And so as you can see, this is the one I just published. You see how it's messed up there. It doesn't actually show the name or anything. That's because it's pending. As soon as that gets finished, it'll only take a few minutes. But as soon as that's finished, you'll see the thumbnail. So I'm just going to click one of the ones I already have uploaded. So this is a hologram version of the one I made. This is a matrix code one that I made. This is just the regular version of it. And so as you can see, I have multiple versions or multiple skins of that same avatar. So like I was showing you with Joe earlier, you can have the same, model and then edit it with different skins. And so the one that I was actually showing there, this is the Spatial Guide avatar, the one that's example and in everybody's toolkit when you download it. And so I have it uploaded there already. If we go to the studio, you'll see that I chose that and it automatically grabbed that good high quality thumbnail. And then so inside of the shop, which I'll actually have to go to a different, let's see.
Yeah, you won't be able to get to your shop in your space.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the other. I'm going to go to the other one here and just show you real quick what that shop looks like, because here you're going to want that thumbnail to look much better. So as you can see, when I go to the shop here, that thumbnail, if it looked kind of bad like that other one did, people might not want to buy that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I click it, you can see there's a left shark that I made. There's a station.
Cool.
And so I'm actually going to close that so I'm not getting any bad frame rate while we're doing it. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a new one with the Joe we just made. So I'm going to call him, actually, let me go back, because I'm not editing that one. Actually, I'll make a new one. Again, we'll have to wait until it's finished. Tyrone, help me here. Is this going to, I think normally it only takes like 10 or 15 minutes at max, but I've had it sometimes be about 5 minutes. It, depends on if, I guess.
Yeah, it's really dependent upon how many people are publishing. And since it's a holiday in general, more people are at home probably building stuff.
Well, that's okay. I think we can just go with maybe something else that I've got in here. Let me pick something else. So let's just pretend like here's Suit Man. I actually use this is the avatar that I use for the one that I'm using. I reskinned it, gave him a different color tie, different color suit, and I put a Quest Pro on him. So this was the original version of that avatar, and I just downloaded this from Sketchfab is where I got it for free. And so what I'm going to do, since I selected that one, it went ahead and named it for me. I'm just going to leave it that. We do need to type a description. So I'm just going to put example avatar here. The package SKU is already defined whenever I created the avatar. When I showed you how to do that in Unity, it made the SKU for us. But we're going to need to select a few things down here, though. I do want to make it for sale, but I don't actually want to make it cost anything. So I think you can put 0 there. And then show in the shop, I do want it to have that. If you do want to make a currency for your own world, in fact, I'm going to save that and show how to do that real quick while I'm on the topic. So if you go back to your worlds, before you can even do any of this, I think you have to make a currency. I think it makes you do that. So you want to go into currency. I just made, just a dollar sort of icon with my face on it. And I called it, Josh Bucks. And then I hit save. Once the currency is made, then when you go back to your item, which is Suit Man for me, then you'll be able to assign, your currency to it. So now that I have this item, the last thing that I need to do is publish it. So right now, if we go back to the shop, it's not going to be in there. And I'll go ahead and get it pulled up so we're not waiting. But you do need to publish it so it shows up. Once it's published, if we go back into it, you'll see I have an item ID and all that now. It should show up. So I'm going to load the space back up. And so what I'm doing here, there's a few other ways you can give this to people. I'm just making it free in my shop. I'm not even sure if that's working. That was sort of what we were having issues with before. But there's a lot of other ways that you can give people this avatar. You can make it an award for liking your space or for doing a certain activity. You can make activities award your currency, and you can make it purchasable instead of just being free. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. I was really interested, actually, Tyrone, and you can speak more on that. I was interested in making it more like an achievement, like with the badges. I really like the idea of badges. I had one in this space, actually, where if you went and danced with the shark, it would give you the shark badge. And so I wanted to award the shark that way as well. That was something I was working on. So if we go to the shop here, you'll see I got my Suit Man. He's there. And if I click it, I can even take a look at it before I buy it. And so I think the buy part is not working. I'm actually getting this error here, but once that's fixed, it'll actually go into my backpack. And so it's also kind of neat. I went to someone else's world the other day and I got their avatar in my backpack, so I can even select it. This was from an avatar show we did the other day.
Is that can I ask you a question? Is that the only way that you would be able to get access to the avatar that another person has published? Like, let's say today you create an experience. You put up one avatar that you custom created as a reward for participating in an event, for instance. Is the only way to get access to that specific reward and have it in your backpack and use it at any point to participate in it, or is it just publicly available so you could download it somewhere else as well?
So in this particular space, let me answer your question with an example. So we had last Friday, we had it was one of the Spatians that we had that made a sort of avatar show, and it was in the format of like a runway that people, or a catwalk that people could walk through with their avatars. It was really fun because the first one we did, a lot of people didn't show up because they didn't know about it, and not a lot of people participated. But this one here, a lot of people participated. A lot of people showed up to watch. It was very fun. And if you showed up to this event and won, I think they had a way that you could vote. And if you won, then the person who created the space actually awarded this avatar to them. So I'm not exactly sure how she did it, but they ended up in their backpacks and they could use it anywhere. At this one in particular, I got because I went to that space and I performed one of the, there was like an activity to do. There's a quest, if you will, and that's a whole another thing that I think I actually need to do a quest tutorial. That'll probably be my next one. But you can create quests in Spatial, and they can be simple. They don't have to be this big, episodic, quest or anything. It can be something simple like, hey, go talk to this guy. And then once you fulfill the objectives of the quest, you can have it then go to another step in the quest or award a badge or another item. And so badges were the items that were being awarded at first. That was really the only thing that we could award people for doing things in a space. Now we can award backpack items. And so I haven't shown that in the examples yet. That's a whole nother, again, tutorial, I think. But if you're already familiar with doing activities in your space and doing quests, because that's sort of been out there and the documentation's there, believe me. Once you have your quest done and you want to award something, instead of awarding a badge, you can actually create your avatar backpack item just like I showed you. Grab that ID, and I'm going to go back into the Spatial Studio here and show you. See, now that I've got my item published and created, I have an ID. You'll need that ID in order to award just like a badge. And if I go back to the world, I can go to badges. Any badges that you create, they'll show up here. And I believe they also have an ID. That's what you need in order to award an item. And I think I even have a quest that I can show here. So if you give me just a second, I think it was isn't that how we made badges? Help me out, Tyrone. Were badges made as a package before?
I think he's out. Is he out?
Didn't know that he had left. I'm sitting here talking to him.
He clicked on the button to exit.
I can't remember how before we made badges a different way. Now they're in the studio; they're much easier. But when you do a quest, and I think I need to just open my scene. Give me a second. And I messed it up the other day. I'm going to be so embarrassed to show this scene because somehow I don't,
up, man. Like that's where you.
I don't know what I did, but a ton of my avatars like somehow went to position 0 over there. I had them all spread out like on this island, and then you'll see a lot of them are floating over here now. So I've refused to save this and upload it because it's broken, and I need to fix it. But one of the quests I had was this on the shark. And so when you talk to the shark, it would give you, let's see. Yes, it would award with a badge. So this is just an example of a simple quest. I made this quest where you simply just come in here and you do it's looking for an emote, I think, where you dance with this shark. And then so when you complete the quest, say I've chosen type badge, and then here's the ID. And if you come back to the Spatial Studio, you can see that there's an ID for a badge. And in this case, it was this one. And so same ID here and here. And so instead, if I wanted to award the backpack item, I could just come in here and hit item, and then I could choose and paste that ID and just say 1. And then it would put that avatar in their backpack.
Cool.
And so, or whatever the item is, if it was a prefab, And I've got some other prefabs too. If we go back to, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. If I go back to the Spatial Studio, I've actually got, let's see, I won't see them here, but I had to create. So I think a lot of people are asking for this one here. So I think I'm going to do this one as an example too. So I made this hoverboard as a prefab object a while back. And what this means is in order for anybody to use the hoverboard, I have to be a host of their space and add my prefab to their space. It's the only way that they can do it. If I create it as an item in here, then I can then award it as a global item that people can take with them. So instead of me having to join their space and add it, they can join my space and get
That's so cool. Yeah, that's so cool.
Right. And so that's essentially, this is a brand new feature in Spatial. This just, in fact, I don't even think it's live for everybody. This is, a lot of these features are just being implemented and tested. As you can see, it's not all working properly, but that is obviously how it's, where it's headed. And once this all gets ironed out, you're going to be seeing all that, that kind of Ready Player One type stuff of people flying around on different things, and they got
100%.
cars and
it will bring characters. It will bring way more engagement into those spaces because like it feels so good to play a space, to play through the quest and then get a reward for it. And I think here it's so cool. These are all standard assets, right? These are just like Web 2 standards, you just usable. Nothing is on chain, nothing isn't sellable. Yeah.
If we can get on the topic of that for just a second, because it's not very hard, but if there's there's different things that you can do. For instance, if I'm just going to pull this world up. I'm actually going to try to go to it. Sorry. So if I join one of my worlds and I say, like right now, it's a completely Web 2, all I have to do is sign up with a Google account or whatever and get on Spatial. Super easy. If I decide that I want to Tokengate a space, for instance, if I, let's say I've got an NFT or I've got a token that I have, and I say I only want my holders to be able to get in here. That's actually an option that you can choose with your space anytime. So you don't even have to think about that while you're creating it. I can make it token gated for an event, and then I can take it off later and just say anybody can get in here anytime they want.
Cool.
And so you go into, correct me if I'm wrong. Well, actually, you probably won't know, and Tyrone's not even here. I think it's under, let's see. No, it's going to be one of the paid features, I think. So it would actually be.
Yeah, I think it's in the pro features. I think I looked into this at one point. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So token gate access, and you can put
so we can token gate it. Yeah. We can select our chain, token standard, and all of that.
Okay, cool. Yep.
So I'm not going to do it. Obviously, I don't want to token gate my space, but that's always something you can choose to do now, or you can do it later. You can turn it off and on anytime you want. But that's pretty much it. And honestly, there's a whole lot more when it comes to doing these types of things, creating avatars, creating prefabs, and in the studio with Spatial. I could probably talk about it for a few more hours. But let me recommend this again, just like I said earlier, if you missed it. In the Discord, there's tons of creators there that are good at visual scripting, that are good at Blender, and all these things that I'm not even really good at. And so I can answer some questions, but also, being a part of the community is where you're going to get the best info. Not just that, but Jake at Spatial puts a ton of work in being very meticulous about this documentation on their website. And so, again, if you hadn't checked it out, docs.spatial.io. I do work better with videos for sure, and that's why I like to make my tutorials. But trust me, before I ever do the tutorial, I'm reading through the docs and I'm making sure I understand it before I do that. And so if you want to learn something day one, that's where it's going to be for sure.
Yeah, and if you want to have all the links to access, either you join the Spatial Discord directly, or you join the Sandstorm Discord, where we do a recollection of all the relevant links. So you have both options. Any one of those work. And I think it's so cool what you showed. I really like the fact that you can really easily take a model from any different site, just adapt it a little bit to your liking, make it look a bit better, or maybe change a few things, and then upload it on your space. It's really cool what you showed with the new reward systems. I think this is what will really launch creativity for builders, because it's always cool to be able to publish spaces, but it's even better if people are actually using them and playing around with them and even getting rewarded for it. I know that, for instance, in Decentraland, it's a big deal, right? Like wearables that you can claim from different quests and stuff like this. It's a massive driver of traffic and events and things like that. So really looking forward to those features and how they're implemented in the games. And I think this has been awesome, Josh.
I'm going to switch back to the StreamYard here so I can see you before I leave.
1 second.
And everybody, I'm probably all chatting and I don't even see it.
Whoops.
That's all right.
Yeah, I think it's been an awesome session. I hope all of you who followed liked it. We did a little introduction about the state of the VR and AR industry as well. I hope you like this little chatter. And as a closing thought, maybe Josh, where do you see spatial in this entire environment?
Thanks for asking me that. That's a good question. Spatial. Look, I'm going to say it like I said it earlier, and I didn't even see all this stuff coming at the time. When I left Altspace, and I didn't even feel like I left Altspace. I was sort of just a refugee, and I think that's what we were all calling ourselves at the time. We were looking for a home, and I was someone who was constantly looking at platforms, and I always stayed on one, but I always looked around. And Spatial was a platform that I saw was making the right moves. The only reason I didn't choose it at the time was because I was, I'm not like a game developer in a sense that a lot of people would, like a traditional game developer. But I'm one that I was learning Unity. I was learning all these free tools, and I was not wanting to move backwards. Once I started learning how to build things in a game engine, I didn't want to do anything else. And so once they announced that they had their Spatial Toolkit out, where you could use Unity, I went all in. And then it seemed like week after week they had something new. And so far, like lately, my real life has been kind of hectic. So I went from like being all on it to just being kind of behind. But what's great is that I feel like I've fostered enough people to the point where I don't even have to keep up with it anymore. People are building stuff before me now, and I just watch what they do and then try to like make a video about it if I can. But where Spatial's headed, I felt like this months ago, and it's sort of now fleshing out as it was being, sort of told to me that it would look like. And we're starting to see with the studio the ability for not just people to be able to build things, but to be able to present them in a way that people can leave with them and use them and stuff like that. So it's not just what it was early, which was like, hey, here's my space and you can come in it and enjoy my stuff. Now we're starting to see, you can come into spaces and be who you want to be, and you can also share who you are. And that's what the metaverse is about. Not just Spatial, but I think the key thing that you'll find in Decentraland and Spatial and all these other platforms, you're going to find that people, they want to express themselves, they want to be who they want to be, and they want to be that everywhere, right? They want to be able to go everywhere and say, I'm still me. And so the unique thing, though, about Spatial that I like is that Spatial is almost focused on this sort of almost gamified everything where, whether it's a NFT gallery or whatever, there's, you basically it's I'm going to say it like they like to say it, is zero infrastructure gaming, where if you want to make a game, if you want to tell a story, if you want to show your art, whatever it is, you don't have to have anything. You need to gain some knowledge, which they have on their toolkit and website, and of course, people like myself that create tutorials and stuff. But all you need to do is come with your imagination, and you can sort of build what you want. And so that to me is what ultimately the metaverse is about. I love VR. And so the fact that it's simultaneously accessible to VR players, mobile players, and PC players, that just got me all in. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. And look at this. Such a nice comment from Danimal, who said, super stoked to dip into Spatial. Thanks, Josh. I hope all of you who were a bit silent and listened to this show also appreciated it and learned a lot of new things today. I know it was really compact and dense in information. If you want to learn more about Spatial, you can just check out his YouTube channel or Sandstorm Meetup's YouTube channel. We had another session with Jake and Tyrone if you just want to learn about the platform itself and how they got started. Taka Fumide as well saying thank you. I hope I didn't butcher your name. But yeah, great to see some positive feedback here. On my end,
Sure.
just to fill in on what you said, Josh, you know, at Sandstorm, I don't exactly know if you know what we do, but we are really specialized in B2B operations. So we are working with brands who want to get activated in all those different worlds, right? And we have started doing some, like, we started more working on a builder community, which is what our platform is about. We have a lot of builders who are actively using the platform, publishing their portfolio and participating in different contests. But we also, during the years, we worked with several different big IPs and brands to get involved into those platforms. And the reason why brands wanted to go into several platforms rather than others, such as Roblox, such as the Sandbox, for instance, right? It's because with gamification, you can create a lot of very, very customizable experiences that drive a new kind of audience of people that just want to play a game or have fun with their friends, and at the same time be able to experience the minds behind the brand. And I think that's really the other side of this, right? You have the individuals and creators who want to express themselves, and you also have the brands who want to use those tools to be able to express themselves and showcase their product and showcase a new aspect of their brand that they never were able to develop. And so I think this is kind of the situation that is interesting to watch, and to watch how that develops. And I'm really excited to be on this journey. And Spatial,
Thanks.
definitely is.
And I want to tell everybody too, and because I'm, I don't have a whole lot of time, but I do check my social medias a lot. So if I do have time to try to help out, I never ever try to turn anybody away if they have questions or anything like that. If it's a general Unity question, or if you just want to know a little bit about VR, if you're a gamer or whatever, or you're new to Spatial and you want to learn how to create something, please, like, my inbox is always open. Always send me a DM or something like that if you need help. I don't want anybody to be shied away from the metaverse because they don't know how to do something, or they don't know anybody that can help them out. If I can be that for somebody so they can, meet new people and find worlds that they weren't able to experience before, please let me be that for you.
Awesome. Anyways, Josh, thank you so much. Thank you for your service for the community and for everyone involved. And
thanks for having me here.
See you again very soon. Thank you so much. And thank you for everybody who listened in. I'm sure there will be more of those. So stay tuned. Bye-bye.